But if you wanted to produce more of those wins you just described for the last couple of minutes across students and more regions, how would you create them? So if I give you a magic wand, right, and I said, how would you create these wins systematically without adding headcount? How would you do it? So money's not an object. Nothing is an object. The only object that's stopping you is your imagination and your magical powers or powers of science, whichever one you choose to employ. How would you do that without adding headcount?
It's not going to be a popular answer, but it's automation. It is.
Mm.
The more I can automate the processes of recruiting, onboarding, managing the staff, the tutors, the students, the parents, the more I can automate that, the more people I can serve because our focus will be purely on the human component, the tutoring. Um, and so I'm always looking for ways to automate. That is, coming on the end of this year, we're reflecting on how 2025 went, and we are now. I just sent out about a bunch of projects yesterday to our teams and said, all right, the goal for the next 2 months is everything we did this year, automate it now. We tested it out all year long. It worked for 10 months, automate it, But I would say the key part of that is we had to test it out first, right? And we had to get the systems in place and make sure those worked on a smaller scale. Now that we're certain they work, now it's time to automate. And now I can onboard hundreds of students at once rather than just 10,
Mm.
I can analyze the data for possible with all of this. It's actually a lot simpler than I thought it was, but a big aspect is bringing in the right people. So I have brought in people on the team who know what we've done before, have that framework and that guideline, and now know what to automate.
Absolutely. Makes complete sense. And
I
I
just
suppose
think
the
that when people
yeah,
hear
sure.
automation, I think when people hear automation, they think I'm cutting out humans. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that I know that's an unpopular word, but
Mm.
I have to have people set up the automation, right? I have to have people modify the automation. I have to have people who, still ideate and come up with solutions. So it's a different set of people for sure. It's people with higher skill sets, but it still is creating opportunities for people to work.
And you just got to adapt with it, it's like saying, I'm just going to keep using a fax machine, although the age of the internet is here. Doesn't make
Right.
sense, does it? You just have to adapt. As with all things, you've got to adapt and reskill, and make sure that you're fitting the current market properly. So I completely hear what you're saying, and again, to even circle back to the further point, to the point we're making previously, at the fact where a lot of AI and a lot of automation is really more about augmentation as it is now, as opposed to replacing effectively. So
Yes.
so use this. It still needs humans, as smart as it is. It still needs humans to tell it what to do and tell it how to work, essentially. So completely agree with what you're saying.